Well, hello there, and welcome back to another Blender tutorial. This time around, I'm going to be showcasing my workflow when it comes to making shaders for my characters. We're going to be focusing on skin shaders and hair shaders for this video. Keep in mind that I'm using Blender version 3.3. You can see it in the bottom right corner. So that means that if you're using an older or a newer version, these settings that I'm showcasing here might be a little bit different. As you can see here, I'm using Eevee, and if you want to achieve the same results as me, I highly recommend copying down these settings that I'm showing right now. Next up, we're going to change the world settings. So go to the shader tab, click on the world in the drop-down menu, and copy these shader nodes right here. So we have two background nodes, light path, and a mix shader. Keep in mind that the first background node is pure black, and then the second background node is going to dedicate the background color for your character, which you can set to whichever color you want. Next up, we're going to go back to the object, click on the body, add a new shader, call it whatever. I'm just going to call it skin. Delete the principal BSDF, and we're going to start adding the nodes. First, we're going to start off with the layer node, into a float curve, into a mix RGB. Now keep in mind, once again, I'm going to repeat this again. If you're using a newer version of Blender, instead of it being mix RGB, I think it's just called mix. And then you have to, in the drop-down menu, select color. Now, obviously, because I'm using an older version of Blender, I don't really have to do this because it used to be different. But yeah, if you're using a newer version of Blender, you're going to have to change that. Oh, and also clamp it right there. Here, I'm copying and pasting some hex numbers. These are going to be the colors for my skin. I already kind of figured out what colors I want to use for the character, so I'm just, copy pasting them down. So I don't have to, waste time, figuring out what colors I want to go for. Next up, we're going to add the shadows to our shader using a diffuse BSDF into a shader to RGB, and then another float curve. And once again, I already figured out the colors here. So the second color in color 2 is going to be pure white. It has to be pure white. Make sure that you set it to pure white, because I see so many people making this mistake where they don't set it to be pure white, and then the shader doesn't look good. And then for color 1, as you saw, I just copy pasted another hex number. Next up, we're going to be adding the ambient occlusion to our shader. Crank the samples to 128. Make sure that the color is white. And you see those clamps right there? I just disabled them because only the first mix node has a clamp. The other two, as you can see, they don't have clamps. And here I just copy pasted the hex color again. Now we're going to add a little bit of a glossiness using the glass BSDF. Yes, that's glass, not gloss. Make sure that you grab the glass BSDF and copy these settings down. Change it to B-spline. Add another thingy-mabob, I don't know really what it's called, like another slider. Change it to 0.3, and then kind of position it like this. And then click on the white color, and in the value, in the V, set it to 2. So click on it and type in 2. We're going to grab another mix RGB, change it to multiply, combine the first two mix nodes, duplicate it, and then combine it again. And then the last one is going to be an add. That's going to be for our glossiness. So at this point, we're going to connect it into the output, and as you can see here, it doesn't look good. Guess why? Because we need to add the lights. Now, once again, I'm going to repeat this again. If you want to achieve the same or similar result to the video, make sure that you create these lights the same way that I do. These are my camera settings here. Usually I go for 80 on the focal length, and then the clip start is 1 meter. Oh yeah, so we're gonna grab the sunlight, all right? We can press Shift plus T to kind of point the camera towards the body. Contact shadows are enabled. The strength is at 2, and the angle is at 5. We duplicate it. Once again, Shift T to make it point at the body with a little bit of rotation. We don't really need to change the settings, just keep the settings on the same. But this guy, the third guy, he's going to have strength of 1, and then the specular is going to be 0. And then basically select all 3 of them, then select the cube in the middle, and then press Control P, and then you're going to parent it. And now basically, as you can see here, when we rotate the camera, the lights will also rotate. Now here, I noticed that the skin colors are not really good. You know, so I decided, you know what, I'm gonna copy and paste some new hex codes for new colors on the skin, because I feel like this new one looks much better than the old one. So I'm copy pasting it. So if you want to, get the same result, update your hex numbers here with these new ones. As you can see, it looks much better now. So the basic shader right now is, believe it or not, done. That's it. But we're going to be adding some makeup. So first we're going to start off with some lips makeup, right? So we're going to create a new color attribute right there. Make sure that the color is white. And then go into vertex paint. As you can see here, I'm pressing and holding Control, and I'm painting the lips kind of black. And basically we're going to use this black and white mask, where the white is going to be just, irrelevant, but the black is going to dictate where the makeup is going to be located. So after kind of painting it there, grab the blur brush and just kind of give it a nice blur. And to actually use this mask, we're going to duplicate one of these multiply nodes. And we're going to duplicate again and change it into a mix node. Then we're going to grab a color attribute, not a color ramp, color attribute. Select the lips, put the color into the factor. The first color is going to be the color of our lips, and the second color is going to be white. It has to be white, once again. And once again, I'm going to copy a hex code for a color. And as you can see here, it's going to be kind of this like reddish, pinkish color. And what's really great about this whole workflow is that at any moment we can go back into vertex paint and adjust, the mask to make it look, better. So that was the first one. The next one is going to be some eye makeup. Same deal as before. Go into vertex paint, press and hold Control, and paint like a black mask around the eyes. We're going to duplicate the previous layer, except we're going to change it to eye makeup. And now as you can see here, we're going to copy paste this kind of like purplish color. And now we have this kind of purplish eye makeup. Then we're going to add another layer. And it's going to be the blush layer. And we're going to draw a little bit of blush below the eyes and around the nose. Duplicate the whole setup again. Plug it into color 1. Change that into blush. And then I'm going to copy paste once again, same story. Copy pasting the hex number for the makeup. At any point you can change the factor there to change the opacity. We're going to add another layer. This one is going to be, well, I call it body blush. It's probably not, in real life, it's probably not called body blush. It's more like a, to be honest, I don't even know how to call it, but like basically it's like these areas around the shoulders, around the ears, fingers, elbows, butt, knees. They're going to have a little bit of color to them. Right there, make sure that it says front faces only. Make sure that is disabled. Okay, so disable that. Usually by default, I think it's like there's a check mark there. Get rid of that check mark. And that's going to allow you to paint through the mesh. And once again, I'm using the blur brush to just kind of like make it a little bit more kind of like a gradient. Now that we've added that mask, we can duplicate, change it that guy, copy paste the color, the hex code, and now we have this kind of like blush area, or not blush, but like kind of like this redness around the areas that we painted. So now it's time to do the hair shader. Once again, create a new shader, delete the principled, and just like last time, we're going to start with layer weight into a float curve. So as you can see here, layer weight into a diffuse, into an ambient occlusion, just like the skin shader. But they have slightly different settings. Once again, make sure that color 2 is pure white, and then color 1 is going to be the hex number that we paste. Now right there you noticed I pressed Ctrl T to create texture coordinate and mapping for the noise texture. For that shortcut to work, make sure that you have Node Wrangler enabled. It's a free add-on that comes with Blender. All you have to do is go to Edit Preferences, Add-ons, and just find Node Wrangler and enable it, and then you can use that shortcut that I just showed you there with Ctrl T. Or you can just manually add, if you don't want to enable it, you can just manually add a mapping node and a texture coordinate node, and then connect it manually. Now here, I made a mistake. As you can see here in the red line, make sure that you connect the shader to RGB into the color ramp. I didn't do that. I forgot. I guess I must have been, distracted. But as you can see here, it's not connected, and it's not gonna get connected. So, make sure that you connect it. As you can see here, it's still disconnected. I kind of forgot. I just thought I already connected it, but I didn't. Everything else is connected properly, but yeah. Also, by the way, I don't know if you noticed, but that last mix RGB at the very bottom did have a clamp enabled, so make sure that that's clamped. So we have a multiply, multiply, and then at the end we have an add. And that basically gets us the hair shader. Then basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of the hairs, go into the material thing, I'm going to copy the materials to all the hairs. Now as you can see here, it looks good, but if I actually connected that thing at the bottom that I told you that I missed, it would actually look even better. But I just forgot to do it, so yeah. Now here we're going to add a little bit of a gradient to the tips of the hair. Very simple, just grab a gradient texture with mapping. Make sure that the texture coordinate is connected to the UVs, just like I showed you there. And then just connect the color ramp into another multiply node. Switch the colors. Make sure white is to the left, and then the black, we're going to change it into kind of like a pinkish color. And there you go. That's pretty much it, really. The skin shader is done. The hair shader is done. All we have to do is just do the rest of the things. So basically what I do when it comes to eyelashes and eyebrows is that I literally take the skin shader, I make it its own material, alright, I rename it to lashes, and then I just change the colors. Make sure that saturation here on this guy is 0. And also make sure that the glossiness is lowered by changing the factor there. So here I just take the lashes, I make it its own material, rename it to brows, and kind of give it this kind of like pinkish material. I think I just kind of copied the same colors from the hair. And if you didn't know, you can actually just press Ctrl C while hovering over a color and then go to a different location, press Ctrl V to paste it. You don't actually have to manually copy the numbers if you want to make it a little bit quicker. Once again, same thing with the teeth. I basically took the lashes, made it its own material, renamed it to teeth, and then just made them white. So here I didn't really like how the face was a little bit too glossy, so I added another color attribute called the gloss, went into vertex paint, and basically in the areas where I didn't want any glossiness, I just added a little bit of a black mask. Now I didn't really smooth out the mask, and that's on purpose basically, so the mask is not smoothed out. I didn't use the blur brush. I went into the shading thing, I copied the color attribute in the mix dude. The first color is going to be just pure black, the second color is going to be pure white, and then basically plug that output of the mix node into the factor of the add. And now, where the mask is black, there's not going to be any gloss. And that's pretty much it, my dudes. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one. Bye bye.